And I think we kind of introduced ourselves as we came in, but welcome. I'm Kate Husted, and this is Laura Herrick, and we both teach kindergarten at Santa Fe Trail. And we're excited to give you some of what we've learned about EngageNY. We were a pilot school last year, so we had lots of trainings in the fall, and then January hit, and we started teaching EngageNY full on for second semester. So we're excited this year to be able to start the program from the beginning and see how different it is, you know, because sometimes when you start in the middle of a program, there were lots of things the program assumed we had already pre-taught the kids, and we hadn't. So we're excited to see it from the beginning. But welcome, we are not experts, we just have a little bit of experience. So if we don't know your answers, we will investigate and try to find those out for you. So we were gonna do a little table talk time. We can do that more kind of whole group, but just what experiences, what feelings do you have towards EngageNY? Are you nervous? Are you excited? You know, how are you feeling about this so far?
I'm coming back to the district after staying home for 10 years. So we did everyday learning, I think was
okay.
What we did. So I'm not intimidated by it. I think everything that comes along has, we kind of, especially in kindergarten, you know, like you're kind of doing the same thing, maybe just a different, way of introducing it, and it's spiraling better.
So did you teach kindergarten before you were?
I taught a couple years of kindergarten. I taught mainly first grade. I taught 16 years, so it was walking around, but I always ended up back in first grade. So 2 years of kindergarten in that time.
I'm really excited because I know that the program, has proven that it works, and I know that they'll develop better, number sense and math skills. However, I'm just so used to Envision, and it's a routine. The kids like it only because, every day you get the work mat. I'm nervous about the prep. All the materials, how to organize it. I've tried to research this summer, and it just overwhelmed me. So I just don't know where to start, basically.
Yeah. And we'll share a little bit of that with you at the end. It may work for you, it may not work for you, but just some stuff we've learned along the way.
I just want tips of where to start.
Definitely.
I want to start now so that I'm not so overwhelmed that first week when you're trying to teach it. So.
And I think things we found is that we do really like the program. It's very intense, and but like you said, the kids know their number sense, they know their numbers, they know how to add and subtract, they understand the concepts a lot better than any other year that I've taught. That said, it's not easy, but I think in the big picture, it's really good for the kids. So, yeah.
And I think starting at the beginning of the year is going to help them a lot because these routines will be in place too. Like we shifted from math rotations with a small group of kids, and then you were on your iPad if you were over here, you were playing math games over here. So we switched from that to, boom, whole group instruction. And so that, that was a shift for them too. And they're like, what's going on?
Yes.
Right, so these students will not know any differently. They'll be doing this from day one. So I think that'll be a positive. Sarah, you're going to be a student teacher. Do you have any thoughts, things you've learned in school that you think you're going to look forward to, or?
I don't know much about this, but my teacher that I'm student teaching for piloted it last year.
Okay, good.
And she loved it, so I'm excited to see what she does with it. But the school I was at in the spring, they all did it except the one teacher that I was with did not do it. So that's the only reason why I don't have much experience with it. But
well, good. That'll be good that you have a teacher who's already done it a little.
Yeah, I think so. That's a learning from there.
Great. All right, Kate, take it away.
All right, we're going to go through Module 1, Lesson 1. The program is broken up into 6 modules or units, and within each module there are, different topics, and in a topic then there are lessons. And so typically you would do 1 lesson per day. So 6 modules, then there's topics, and then there's lessons within a topic. Let's see, most lessons have a fluency piece, an application, a concept development, which can include problem set, debrief, homework. There's a lot of different components to each lesson. As we go through the lesson, feel free to take down questions. We're going to try and do the lesson without stopping like we might do in the classroom setting, but then at the end we'll go back through each part and say maybe things we changed or maybe things that we might do differently with kids in the classroom. Like today, we have everything passed out to you already. In the classroom, we wouldn't have done that yet. Just to get them up and moving, it kind of does a little brain break, you know, okay, now we're going to put these away and now we're going to go get these out, just to get them up and moving a little bit. Today, for time's sake, we went ahead and passed everything out to you.
So would you suggest, I'm probably getting ahead of myself.
No, that's okay.
So would you suggest you're storing the teddy bears all in just one space and part of them counting them out? Or do they have like a little toolkit where they go and get their...
And that's part of the organization piece that, you know, as you go through, you'll have to figure out what works best for you. The lesson actually says to have a baggie for each kid with at least 5 counters of some type. We just put handfuls, depending on how you did the activity. You know, you could just give them a handful, or you could give each kid an individual baggie, and then we recommend save those because more than likely you will use them again in a day or two. But it is prep time to count out.
Do you think it was enough as far as the lesson, like if you had a little toolkit somewhere that just for them to get up and take a little break, get their own toolkit, come back, count out their 5 counters?
Well, I think now at this stage they wouldn't be able necessarily to count the 5 counters.
Right, right.
So
later on in the year,
later, but now no.
You would have more, yeah.
That's
Okay.
I'm gonna get. I bought pencil pouches.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna put in like cubes, whatever counter, and then just grab that instead of okay, let's get teddy bears, just for my sake.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I was thinking early on, it could go
Right.
around and plop them down, and then they might move to the toolkit.
Right.
Yes.
And then you can reuse, and you will reuse them, I guarantee you.
And we are going to start with fluency practice today. And I want everybody to find their hand mat that looks like this and have this out in front of them. And everybody should have some counters in front of them. Today we have teddy bears. Some days we use different kinds of counters. Today we have teddy bears. I want you to take one teddy bear and put it at the bottom of your mat right here on one of these circles. All right, let's count how many bears we have on our mat. 1. Everybody do that with me. 1. Take another bear from your table and let's put it on the next circle. Count how many bears are on your mat with me now. 1, 2. Do you see how I'm touching as I count? Let's do that again. 1, 2. All right, everybody get another teddy bear. We're going to cover up another circle with our bear. Put it right on that circle. Let's use our finger and point as we count how many bears we have now. 1, 2, 3. Very good counting. Let's count our bears one more time. Let's touch and count together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I want everybody to show me your pinky finger. When you hold up your hand, which finger do you think is your pinky finger? It's this little bitty finger on the end. Everybody see that pinky finger? Can you find the pinky finger on your hand on the paper? Point to the pinky finger on the hand on the paper. It's all the way over here, this little finger over here. This time, I'm gonna take one bear from the bottom of the page and I'm gonna set it on top of the pinky. Can you do that? Take one bear from the bottom and set it on top of the pinky. All right, let's count how many bears we have on fingers. You ready? We have 1. How many fingernails are under that bear?
1.
There's 1 fingernail under that bear. So do we have the same number of bears as we do fingernails right now? Is that exactly the same?
Yes.
1, yes, that's exactly the same. All right, here we go. We're gonna take another bear from the bottom and we're gonna put it on the next finger up on the hand, so move your bear. Let's touch and count how many bears we have on fingers now. Here we go. 1, 2. How many bears do we have on the fingers? 2. How many fingernails are those bears covering up? 2. Is that the exact same number?
Yes.
Yes, that's the exact same number of bears and fingernails that are covered. Okay, we're gonna take our last bear from the bottom and we're gonna move it up to the next finger on our hand. Let's touch and count together how many bears we have on fingers. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We have 3 bears. How many fingernails are those bears covering up? 3. Is that the exact same number?
Yes.
Yes, that is the exact same number. Good counting. All right, now I want you to take your bears and put them back on the dots at the bottom of your page. All right, take one more bear from your table and add it to the bottom row. Oh, I forgot my tape. And then take one more bear and add it to that last dot. I'm going to say a number, and I want you to show me that many bears on the finger. Whatever number I say, that's how many bears I want you to move up. Would everybody show me 1 bear on the fingers? Everybody show me 1 bear. Very good. Now everybody show me 2. Good counting, boys and girls. Now, I want you to go back and show me only 1 bear on the fingers. Only 1 bear. Very good. Now show me 2 bears again. This time show me 3 bears. How many bears do we have on the fingers? 3. Okay, let's see if we can get a little bit trickier. This time, see if you can show me 4 bears on the fingers. How many bears do we have?
4.
4 bears on the fingers. And now one more. Let's see if we can do 5 bears on the fingers. Touch and count your bears and let's see if we have 5. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Now, take 1 bear off and let's show 4 bears. Everybody have their 4 bears? Very good. Take 1 more bear off and let's show 3 bears. Everybody point and count your 3 bears on the fingers. 1, 2, 3. Take another bear off. How many are left on those fingers?
2.
Very nice counting. I liked how you touched and pointed as you counted. And let's take 1 more off. How many are we left with? 1. Very good, boys and girls. Okay, we are done with our bears and our hands. And I have a special hand I'm going to show you today. I'm going to put on my counting glove. And on my counting glove, I have some numbers on my fingers. Does everybody see my numbers? All right, and I want you to watch my number glove and count with me. Are you ready? Count with me. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to stay here at 3 and we're going to count backwards to 1. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Very good counting. Okay, this time we're going to count backwards and forwards and you're going to have to watch my glove. Watch my hand in order to count with me. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2. Count with me. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Very good counting, boys and girls. All right, boys and girls, now you should have a blank piece of paper at your table, maybe under your hand mat, and you should have a blue crayon. So would you get out that blank piece of paper and your blue crayon? And I brought with me some laundry that I did this weekend. And what do I have up here, boys and girls?
A sock.
I have a blue sock. I want you to take your blue crayon and draw a picture of my blue sock on your blank piece of paper. The best drawing you can do. Yep. And I want you to hold that drawing up in the air when you have it finished so that I can see it. Very nice drawings. Excellent. Now, we're going to put our drawing to the side, and in a little bit, we're going to talk about our socks, okay? But right now, Mrs. Herrick is going to do the next part of the lesson.
All right, so I did some laundry this weekend. And then I have these two socks. If you notice, these two socks are both brown. If you look really closely, they both have some patterns on them. They're the same size. They are exactly the same. They are exactly the same. Do you notice anything else that's exactly the same about them, or anything that's different about them?
They're brown.
Yep, they're both brown.
The pattern.
Yeah, that's nice. The pattern, good. Anything else? Are they the same size?
The size.
Okay, they're the same size. They are exactly the same. I also had these socks when I did my laundry. Are these socks exactly the same?
No.
No. But they are mostly the same. How are they mostly the same? What's the same about them?
They're black.
They're both black, so they are mostly the same because they're the same color, but they're not exactly the same. Why are they not exactly the same?
Size.
This one's little, this one's big. Are they the same shape?
No.
No.
No. This one's tall and skinny, this one's kind of short. Did you notice it? All my socks are inside out, aren't they? My family doesn't turn their laundry the right way. And do you notice anything else that makes them not exactly the same?
The patterns.
What do you see when you say in the pattern?
There's a line, and then there's a...
Right, so
And I
there's
thought
a-
I saw a hole in that one.
You know what? My dog eats socks, so that's an entirely a possibility. So there may be a hole in one, and that would make them not exactly the same. She really does. It drives us crazy. So, how about let's look at these two socks. Are these exactly the same?
No.
No. What's different about them?
Different patterns.
All right. This one has big. This one has little. What do you notice that's the same about them, though?
The size?
They're pretty much the same size.
And gray and black.
Okay, the same colors. All right. Do you see anything else that makes them sort of the same?
Shape?
They are the same shape. No, not yet. Look at the stripes.
They have stripes.
They both have stripes, don't they? Okay, so they're different sizes stripes, but they both have stripes. So are these exactly the same?
No.
No. All right, so these are exactly the same size, the same color, the same shape, the same pattern. These are not exactly the same because they have different kinds of stripes. Okay, so we're thinking about the same and exactly the same. Now, we're going to do this game a little bit differently. If we had, you notice you have a sock, okay? All right, and if you were really doing this in your class, they would be looking for their partner, okay?
Find the exact
To
same.
find the same sock. I'm going to turn some music on. I want you to get your sock. Look at your sock. Look at the color, look at the shape, look at the pattern on it. See if my dog ate any holes in it. Then when I turn the music on, I want you to walk around the room and try to find the sock that is exactly the same as yours. All right? Now, obviously, we would not be doing it on our iPhone in class because we would need it louder. All right, here we go. Here comes my music. Go find the sock that is exactly the same as yours. If you were finding a partner, we'd ask you to link arms when you found the person. All right, good. Let's look at your socks. Did you find a partner that are exactly the same? They're the same color, they're the same size, they have the same patterns on them. Good job, good job. All right, pop yours back where you found it and then go back to your table. If we were doing this with kids, we won't torture you guys, but we would have them trade and do it again a couple of times to just reinforce that. So, and we're going to talk, Kate has a great strategy on that. We're going to talk about when we kind of debrief and go back through everything. All right, if you look on your table, you have a paper that looks just like this. Can you find that paper? Very good. And if you look at it, you notice there's a lot of different animals on there. And some of them look exactly the same. Some of them are mostly the same. Let's look at the very top. Do you see they have the bird? Then they drew a line from the one bird to the other bird. Why did they do that?
They're exactly the same.
They are exactly the same. What's underneath the bird? Can you tell what that is? It's a squirrel. I want you to look on the other side and try to find another animal that is mostly the same as that one. You can use your blue crayon to draw that straight line. Oh, good straight lines, guys. All right, let's look at the rest of the animals, and I want you to draw lines from one animal to the other animal that is exactly the same or mostly the same. Good. You guys are using your own brains, only looking at your own paper like that. All right. Good. You found some rabbits. Now, are those rabbits exactly the same or mostly the same?
Mostly.
Yeah. What is different about them? Yeah, they're different sizes. How about that skunk? Are those exactly the same or mostly the same?
Mostly.
What's different about them?
Size.
The size. One is big and one is tiny. What is that? A dog or a coyote? I don't know at the bottom. How about that? Are they exactly the same or mostly the same?
Exactly.
They're the same size and the same shape and the same color. All right. Very good job on that. Should I sing my Put Your Name on Your Paper song?
Oh, sing it, Mike.
Because I'm such a good singer. It's,
I need
put your name. It's not rocket science. Put your name on your paper, on your paper. Put your name on your paper,
on your paper.
Okay, keep going.
I think you got it. Put
That's
your
it.
name on your paper. Put your name.
I like that.
All right. So we already looked at our papers, and we looked at the animals that were exactly the same and mostly the same. Take a peek at your feet right now, your very own feet. Very own feet. Are your shoes exactly the same? Sorry, you don't have Kate and Laura with you. Am I doing your part?
You're fine. Go ahead.
I only know. I don't know.
Yes.
Are your shoes exactly the same? Yes. They're the same color, the same shape. Look, you even have like a cheetah pattern on yours, but both of your shoes are the same. Exactly the same. All right. You want to finish the debrief since you're supposed to?
Do you remember earlier in the lesson we all drew a picture of my blue sock? Would you find that picture that you drew of my blue sock? And I want you to talk with your math partner about your socks. Show your picture to your partner. See if your two drawings are exactly the same or if they are mostly the same.
Mostly.
Oh, now interesting. Look at Sarah's. How is hers different from yours? All right.
So the socks that we drew are mostly the same. They have parts that are the same, but are they all drawn to the same size? No. Do they all have the same line drawn on them? So they're mostly the same because we all draw a little bit differently, don't we? All right. On the back side of your animal paper, flip it over, and we're going to do our exit ticket and think about all that we've learned today. There are two different types of animals. There are a couple of mice, and there are some bears. Talk with your partner about those mice. Are those mice exactly the same, or are they mostly the same?
Mostly the same.
One is bigger, so the size is different. Very good. Now look at those bears. Are those bears exactly the same, or are they mostly the same?
Exactly.
Exactly the same. What is the same about them?
Size.
The size? The size and the shape?
Color.
All right, very good, boys and girls. Okay, so that is Module 1, Lesson 1. And we did that probably in 25 minutes. However, with a classroom full of kids on the first week or two of school, that would take at least twice as long. Okay, so we wanted to go back through the different parts to the lesson and talk about things we might do differently, or see if you have any questions about those specific components. So in the beginning, we did the counting games with the hand.
I have a question.
Yes, go for it.
So, where are you in the room? Are you at the carpet? And then do you go to your table to do the worksheet? Like, how do you?
And that's some things that we can talk about. I like to switch it up. Sometimes we'll be at the carpet in a big circle. Sometimes I'll have them at their desk, and just because then that gets them up and moving. And so sometimes if they have things at their desk and I don't want them to touch anything, then we'll all come to the carpet because then they don't have anything to play with, and then we'll go back to our desk. The hand game, I was thinking last night, I could have done this on, put it on a cookie sheet and had magnetic counters, then I wouldn't have had to use the tape, but I couldn't get into my room last night, so I didn't do that. But I also thought this might be good just to all be in one big circle on the floor, and then I could have my paper in front of me, they have theirs in front of them, they can easily see mine, I can easily see all of them. I also thought this might be an easy one to just drop handfuls as opposed to having them all counted out in bags. It's kind of hard to gauge that the first couple weeks of school, what your kids can and can't handle, and you just trial by error, you know, in the beginning. But that's kind of your preference and what you think your kids can handle.
And like when I do this, I have a magnetic easel. So I would probably have them on the floor. The hand would be on the easel. And then I would be putting magnetic things on the fingers.
And
and of course you could use the projector, but sometimes the time of getting that all shot up there and everything takes more time than
The Fluency Practice, and this one there was the counting beans, or counting the counters, where you had to move them up. Then the second game that we did, I told you a number and you had to put that many up on the fingers. And then the third one that we did was the counting glove. So there were 3 fluency. There's not always 3 fluency games, but sometimes there are. They're meant to be quick. It's meant to be a review. Your higher kids are going to get it super. Your lower kids may be lost throughout the time, but it's a good time to just kind of do a visual check of who's keeping up, who's not, so you know who to go back to later. But it does spiral through, and it's usually easier, I think, than the main lesson, so that it can be quick and rapid and they become more fluent with the number sense. The gloves, so this is very tricky to start counting. It's really important to use your right hand to start with your pinky so that when they see it, they're counting left to right. But as you get going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have my other glove somewhere, but this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you get to 10 at the end. My fingers don't always work like that. The kids don't either. So practice it. When you're counting at calendar, have them practice this way. Because it cycles back through, because even when we started in January, they called it happy counting, and we were doing this.
And when you get at the end and you're doing like team numbers and groups of 10, you count across and you come together and you do it again. I mean, so it is all year, and that was in May we were doing that. So it's all year long. So
I'm hoping if we, both Laura and I, can start the year with this and the kids start the year with this, that will be a much easier process than that was kind of tricky for us, just because it was a new way of thinking about it than we had done in the past.
So make sure you're mirroring them is what we're saying.
Yes.
And and other opportunities to practice. If you're just saying, show me 2 fingers or show me 4 or whatever, make sure they're doing it 2 and 3 and 4, not the usually this way. Make sure in those circumstances too, you're reinforcing that. This is 6.
Right, I have a question.
Yes.
Silly question.
No.
So like when the bears are on their fingers and you're like, okay, count 3 bears. You used your pointing finger, even though.
Right. Because they're just pointing to it.
Okay, so you don't. I know that's like you wouldn't go like 1, 2.
No, you wouldn't have to, and that was the point of the left hand here too, is for them to see counting. I
don't want them to like get them mixed up or have them learn to count. Okay.
And this is This hand page, they call them templates. This is something that you print off now, but then you can collect them and save them, put them in their file, and then use them again next year. So there's a lot of copies this year, but a lot of stuff can be saved and used next time. There's a lot of templates that have to be written, like this one you don't need to write anything on, but there's a lot of them that you write on, and it talks about a personal whiteboard, which is basically this plastic sleeve, and you can slide them in here and then wipe off markers, dry erase markers.
So we'll be using the plastic sleeve and then just make regular copies of those. We won't be laminating all these.
No, okay. And like this one, I probably wouldn't even put this in here because they don't have to write anything. They're just moving counters on this one. But as you get through into higher lessons, there's a lot of templates where they want them to do writing. And so we put them in these sleeves, and then the templates can be saved and used again.
And they can put them in the sleeves. You don't have to. They can do it.
Right. Okay.
And like she said, save. When I started doing this stuff, I saved them labeled as like hand template or whatever. And then as I started getting more at it, I would save that as, you know, module 1 template. I would say I had things saved in the module, but then I realized that you reuse a lot of things.
You do reuse things.
So then I started saving them as what they actually are.
Label it hand template instead of module 1, so then you're not looking.
Well, and I do label it what it is because a lot of times they'll refer back to it. Use this thing, you know, number 1.1. You'll be like, what is that? So
at the top it does say lesson 1 fluency template, so you know that that's the first time it was used, but that doesn't mean it won't be used other lessons. I have mine where I have a lesson 1 file, I have a lesson 2 file, and so on, 1 file per each lesson. And so I would keep this in lesson 1 file, and then when like if you need it again, it will say use lesson 1 fluency template, and so then I knew where to find it.
Okay.
So that's differences in how we organize things, but that's just your own preference and what's easiest to find things. The biggest thing is just don't get rid of stuff because you're probably going to need it again.
So you're saying you cross-reference it. You call it the name of it, and then you put the lesson number in it also.
the only things I keep in the actual lesson file, and like, so like I have tubs for each day of the week, and all my stuff for Monday's in the tub, all my stuff for Tuesday, and this is all my stuff, my reading stuff, my science stuff, everything. So I would have for lesson 1, I would have the problem sets and the exit ticket in there, because that's all but the other stuff is all in like kind of a repository.
Right.
Because that way I can just pull it out, because I might use it Monday, but I might not use it again till Thursday, and that way I don't have to move it in my tubs, or that way a sub could find it if they needed to find it. It's all right there together.
Whereas
like all my stuff is together.
I would have it in my Monday tub, and if we're not using it again on Thursday, I would have a sticky note put with Thursday's stuff, and I would have it. So that's just differences, you know.
Right.
You just have to do whatever works for you.
Right.
And you were asking about like if it says in here what we need under each activity. So like on page 17 in the manual, it says counting beans and fingers. It says it's going to take 5 minutes. It will probably take longer. The first lesson that you're doing, trying to pass everything out. That's another thing we found out. These times that it lists are not really accurate. So as you get going, you can kind of judge a little bit more accurately as to what time will take in your classroom. But it says materials. And so for us, the students need a left-hand mat, or the Fluency template. They need a bag of beans or small counters. So it tells you materials under each activity. So that part, like when I go to plan for the week, that's where I really look, because that tells me exactly what I need to have prepped and what I need copied and what I need to have ready. So under each activity, it will tell you.
Where, okay, I didn't know if there was a general for module 1, all these things.
And then when I turn over to page 19, the counting with the number glove, it tells me that I need a right-hand glove with numbers written on it.
And I make notes in my plans too, because sometimes, like in this case, we only use the counters for one activity, or like if we're using the dry erase board or the sleeve, we might only use it once, but we might not. So like I make notes, you know, keep the counters out or keep the sleeve out. So I make sure that it's still, so we're not putting it away and then getting it back out again.
Yeah. Because after we were done with the counters, in this case, after the first 2 fluencies, show me the beans, I probably would have had the kids get up, put the counters away, and then come back, because
Yeah,
that gives them a
big
little
time.
brain break of movement, and then they can't keep playing with them.
Yeah, big time.
Classroom management is a big piece of this, just with how many things are out at one time. The things being out are good because then it's really hands-on, but it creates for a lot of distractions. So, yes.
So is there a work mat book that we run from, or is that all online?
It is online, and we'll show you that in just a minute,
Okay.
how to get to those pages. Some of the pages are printed off in the manual, but not very many of them. So we'll show you where to find all of those.
I got something on Teachers for Teachers, and it has all the templates, and it has 2 on each one. So then you just cut it in half. Instead of making 24 of these, you make just 12.
I will caution you on that. And the district has them all ready for you. You don't have to pay for them. Sometimes their drawings are really tiny, and they're too tiny for what they want you to do. So if you have them shrunk down to 2 on a page, they're gonna, because we were talking about this too, like if you have all of the big bears, they're gonna be hard to fit on all of these little fingers. You know, if you had smaller counters, they would fit on better, but there's other lessons where we found the pictures were so small, they had a really hard time being able to count them, even because they're tiny and close together. So just something to think about too as you go along.
So some of the fluency templates are in the book, okay? Like this, the hand is in the book. But like the problem set and the exit ticket are in the digital file, so we'll show you that.
Okay.
The next part we did was application problem, and every lesson has an application problem, and it's kind of like an anticipatory set for the main meat of the lesson. And so like today it was draw the sock, and we were talking about mostly the same, exactly the same, but it was just to get you thinking about, hey, we're going to do socks in this next lesson. But then we didn't actually talk about the sock until the debrief part at the end. So sometimes you talk about it with your partner, sometimes you just do something and then get your mind thinking about it, and then you talk about it at the end. We mentioned talk with your math partner. That is a big component of EngageNY, having math conversations with each other. In our classrooms this past year, we assigned math partners, and it was always the same partner. We assigned locations in the room for them to sit when they were supposed to talk with their math partner, so they knew where to go and who to meet. And then you can always reassign partners, you know, as needed. Those don't have to be set in stone. If you want them to pick their own, you know, whatever you're most comfortable with, I think. But just getting them comfortable having those conversations. Hey, I drew this. Did you draw the same? You know, and learning how to be appropriate and kind and
Well, and my
staying on
partners,
task.
like for the partner activities, I would just say talk to a table partner, and so that wasn't necessarily the same partner that they played a game with later on.
Yeah, you just, some of it is, hey, we don't have time to move to our math partners right now, so just talk to who's next to you.
Yeah.
If it's a really important conversation you want them to have, you know, it might be a time to move to their designated partner.
Do you compare like a high with a low? Or high?
We did some of that. I probably did a high with a middle, and then worked the list down that way, so you don't have the two drastic ends
But you want
meeting.
someone with a low instead of 2 low lows.
Yes, typically.
So they like can help. Okay.
A conversation.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want, you know, the 2 kids.
And
Yes.
you want to talk about partners, how we kind of manage that, since we're talking about partners anyway?
What else?
Well, she said like assigning the partners, but also, like I give mine the same, they go to the same spot every time. So I just say, go to your partner place. There's also, she introduces, you guys do a lot of your partner stuff together on the carpet.
Oh yeah, sometimes if we go to the carpet and I say sit in a circle, I'll say sit next to your partner in the circle, so then they're already right there together.
Yeah. And I always show the activity that they're going to be doing with their partner before we go. Because if you try to teach them while they're sitting there with the manipulatives or the game and they're all spread out around the room, forget that. You know, and it's better prep, and I'll demo it. I'll have a little person be my partner. We'll play the game, do the activity together. And then there's also, Kate did a really good organizational thing with, like, some of the activities later will be maybe they're playing a memory game, so they're looking for matching cards. And you would have those, every partner group would get a little baggie. But then we, sure enough, even though all they had to do was pick the stuff up from one place and put it in, you know, still,
there's always one.
There's an 8 card, you know, and then you don't know which bag it went to. So, Kate, tell them how you...
I did my sets in different colors. So if I needed 10 sets, I tried to find 10 different colors of paper. So then you knew which bag was missing. Or if there weren't 10 different colors, at least maybe there were 3 or 4, and so then you had less bags to sort through.
Or label them, set 1, set 2.
Yes, but then you'd have to label each individual card, which you could do. But there is always a card, always. Always a card. Oh, I forgot this one.
100%. Yeah, and so what I would do is I would just kind of walk around and see who was missing what and give them the missing toy.
Yes.
Or periodically, if we had a few extra minutes, I would pass out the bags. And they would spread their stuff out, and I'd be like, everybody have a 1. Okay, put it in your bag. Everybody, you know. So every once in a while, if we had a few extra minutes, we'd use that to organize the stuff. But
okay, do you want to talk about concept development?
Well, and as she was talking too, I was thinking, sometimes you look at these things and they seem like, oh, this is nothing. Why are we drawing a sock? Or this is, this is a silly thing. I'm not going to do it. I would really, really recommend, particularly this first year, teaching it with fidelity. The pieces really do fall together. They really do. And then, in next year or the year after, and you're like, okay, now I've seen the big picture, I get it. We don't really need to spend time doing this, or we don't really. I would really suggest really teaching it with fidelity, because it does fit together, not only in kindergarten but in the future. On the problem set, use your own common sense. Like if you look at the directions, it says they're supposed to use a ruler to draw the line from one thing to the other.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah. So use your common sense on some of that. I was very guilty, especially coming in on Module 1. At first, I thought a lot of the stuff was too hard for them.
Module 4.
What did I say?
Module 1. Because when we started in January,
4.
we started Module 4.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. We started with Module 4. So I thought some of these problem sets were pretty hard for them because they hadn't phased into the whole thing.
Oh, by the way, the problem set is the worksheet.
Yes.
So
that's the thing where you drew the line.
That's what this was. That's what they called the worksheet, is the problem set.
Did you find yourself doing that all the time, or can you check for understanding in a different, like, it seems like there's a lot of paper.
There is a lot of paper.
Okay.
They are, and that's kind of one of my personal goals for next year, or for this year, is to utilize the iPad in some form. Maybe put these on Notability, and then they can do it on that.
But that's not going to happen right away. And my thing too, as we're getting through, and they're supposed to be like writing numbers and learning it with a pencil is different than using your finger or stylus on the iPad. So my personal opinion is in kindergarten is
learn without. I mean, why don't you give them a ruler? They need to learn.
They still need that paper pencil practice.
Okay.
So, but yes, I would like to ultimately get more of this stuff on the iPad so they can do it. But I 100% agree. I mean, some of the stuff, when they're writing numbers and things like that, they need to be doing it on the paper with their pencil. Anyway, problem set. So I was really doing the problem set with them a lot at the beginning because I thought it was too hard. And then I started realizing they can do these. So like you saw, I'll do a problem or 2 problems with them, and then I will let them go. And then we'll come back when they're done and check it. We also thought, and this is easier for us because we've already done it, but one of my goals for this year is to use the problem sets maybe to diversify the learning a little bit more. So I know these people can do it on their own, but Bobby and Susie probably can't. So Bobby and Susie are going to come over here with me, and we're going to do the problem set together, but these guys will be working independently. So they should be able to do it independently, and that's the goal. And let them, I was like, why? I don't want to let them do it wrong, but then if we're coming back and checking it, you're getting that chance to look back over it. And sometimes you do run out of time for the problem set and the exit ticket. You could do it as morning work the next day. You could send it home as homework. We did not send the actual homework home this year.
They do have actual homework that's optional. We did not use any of it, but that might be something we look into this year.
We did send home, there's a parent letter that goes at the beginning of each module, And we did send that home just to give the parents an idea of what we were doing.
It's nice because it shares the language and the vocabulary that's used and gives some examples on how we're teaching the concept, so they can follow through with it at home if they want.
And then like the exit ticket, I mean, that would be a perfect example of something you could just shoot up on the screen.
This page was the exit
big
ticket.
deal.
Yeah.
They don't need to have that.
Right.
You know,
That's what
you
I
could
was
totally
thinking.
shoot that on the screen and just talk about
Talk
it.
to your partner, yeah.
We also noticed there was not an exit ticket every day. Like, I was shocked when we were going through lesson 1 that there was an exit ticket, because when we started module 4 in January, it didn't have exit tickets for module 4. Or at least not the first half of it anyway. So there's not always an exit ticket. Sometimes, like we did, you can make them front to back. Sometimes the problem set is 2 pages on its own, so then the exit ticket becomes a separate page. Or like she said, just put this one on the screen and then you don't have to make copies of it.
And then you can also collect these and use them, holding this, you can collect the problem sets, use them as a tool to see a little assessment piece. You know, where are they with me or not? I need to work with this kiddo a little bit more on that skill. So that's another good thing you can do with the problem sets. And on that light, there's also the mid-module and end-of-module assessments. And they're...
So in your manual, it will give...
I think this one's about maybe 14 lessons in.
All right, it starts page 163, starts talking about the assessments. And then if you turn over to 164, it starts listing the mid-module assessment. Take a deep breath, because when we first looked at our first mid-module assessment for module 4, and we counted up, because it wants you to do individual, and we counted up how many activities were included in the one mid-module assessment, we estimated about 12 hours. And we kind of almost cried and thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? So we were given the advice of look through all of the questions it's asking through either the mid-module or the end module assessment. Use that as a bank. Take out the ones you think are the most important that you want to know if your kids learned from what you've done. And then we were able to shorten it down. And then we gave the assessment during math time. The other kids were either at math stations and games or math games on iPads, and we would pull 1 or 2 kids at a time, ask them these questions and take down notes as to what they did. And then there is a rubric in each one that kind of shows you 1 point, 2 point, 3 or 4 points as to how well they answered the question, that can give you a score at the end. And so then based on whichever questions you choose to give, then you kind of modify the rubric to fit your assessment given.
So if you just think about the big picture, what most essential things that they want us to learn in this first section, then that would be what you would want to assess them on. Like our first mid-module had, now I can't even think what they're called, okay?
Number bonds?
Yes, had number bonds. And so that was a big part of what they were supposed to be learning. And so we assessed them. Could they put things in there? Could they put numbers in there? Could they, you know, we didn't do the whole assessment. We just pulled out what we thought was most important for that assessment. So don't let that panic you. And we do small groups. Was it 2 days, 3 days a week? We had a half an hour where we grouped between our 2 classes, and we had 4 groups. And so one group was with, we ability grouped them. So we had one group with us and the other group on the floor, and then we flipped. And so we had 4 groups total. She had 2, I had 2.
So they had about 15 minutes of teacher instruction time and 15 minutes of activity time on iPad or math game on the floor. And we put our 2 classes together and made 4 groups out of that. And we felt like that was super important, because there's no time to stop during these lessons and help the kids that aren't getting it. There's none. You have to keep going. And so we felt like some of our kids were really getting lost in the shuffle, and so they needed some extra help just to get caught up. on the other end of that, we felt like the kids that were super high were getting lost in the shuffle too, because this was super easy for them. So then we were able to push them a little bit further to the next step.
That 3 times a week?
2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. For a half hour, 15 minutes. And was that during your math?
It was a separate time.
Right, you just spent, there was a half hour.
It was normally a time we would have done, I guess we did it twice a week, Monday, Friday. It was a time that we normally would have been in our own classrooms doing like a review time or a seasonal activity or something like that. Because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we do science and social studies, which we flip for that too. But yeah, so this year one of our goals is to use the mid-module and end-of-module assessments as a tool to decide who's going to be in which group. Last year we used just kind of our own quarterly assessments and our own knowledge of where they, and dibbles and knowledge of where they were. And we did go to the first grade for our highest group. We did go to the first grade teachers and ask them, where are they headed? What are some things you guys are doing with this? And that was,
and how do you teach this next
so
step?
We could make sure, like, we wanted to do bigger addition problems and teens and things like that. How are you doing 9 plus 7? How do they teach that in first grade?
Right.
So, but we really felt that, and it went great, and the kids got the flow of it, and it kind of helped us feel like we were meeting everybody's needs a little bit more.
One thing I want to show you, some other resources that you might want to use on iPads when iPads are out and your class is comfortable with them. Rec and Recs are used throughout the whole thing. I'd never really taught with a Rec and Rec before, but basically it's strings of beads.
As an abacus.
Yeah, strings of beads in 10, so 10 on a line. So Matholia Tools has Rec and Recs online, or Rec and Rec by Mathies. Both of those, the students can access the beads
They're virtual
online.
ones.
And so you can create as many lines of beads as you want. I mean, we, by the end, had 100.
Yeah.
So 10 rows, or you can just have 1 row on there at a time. There are
those can be like used on the iPads?
Yes. So the kids can do those on their iPads.
Matholia?
Yes, Matholia Tools.
Make sure you do tools though, because there's 2 different ones, and the one doesn't.
And then Rec and Rec by Mathies is probably, we had a problem getting the Matholia Tools on their iPads. I got it on mine, but then wasn't able to get it on theirs.
Once we get the iPad thing, it's all new to me with, with the classroom. I mean,
they will each have their own iPad.
And so we go in and we'll load whatever we...
Some stuff will be preloaded. Some stuff will be in self-service, and you just have to click on it, and it'll push it out.
And yes, you have to load it.
Yes.
Like you have to spread all your iPads out.
Okay, get them all going. And then we can individualize too, right?
So this one is the Rec and Rec by Mathies. Just to kind of show you, and it starts with 2 rows here, and then you just slide the beads over as you're counting. And I liked this one because it showed the 5 and the 5 groups to make the 10, because it talks about that as we're teaching. You can add as many rows. You can, well, I can't do it backwards, but you can spread these rows out and move them down if you want.
And it starts out with 2 every
you
time.
push these arrows and it goes back to, you want to start, yes, it starts with 2 every time.
Move that one down.
So sometimes I would just do mine on my iPad and they'd be all up on the carpet, or I would have it up on the screen, and then sometimes I would have them all have their iPads out and do it. But we also found, and we're considering this too, you can order kits, like if you have PTA money or school money, you can order kits to make them with the pony beads on pipe cleaners to slide over. And I think those boards are actually dry erase boards also, so the kids can write numbers underneath them as they're going.
Oh, that's a good idea.
They only have 2 per card, 2 lines per card, so 20 beads. And some of the lessons we did, it talked about having the kids make their Rec and Recs, but then if they needed more than 2 rows, then they got together with a partner and they put their 2 boards together. And so then they were up to 40. So just some things to think about. There's a lot of different apps with tools if you don't have in your classroom that you can find online. And you know, be flexible. If it says to use bears and you don't have bears, use what you have. We found a lot of things that it wanted. We didn't have that exact thing, but we had something else that could work. So don't be stuck on if it says it has to be this. You know, you can use other things.
Well, and like that, like this year, I'm doing, like, you know, those things that are like big rectangles and then they have the little cubes that you can put little drawers in. You know, storage
like
units.
from Target, yeah.
Yeah, like from Target. Like, so I'm doing that because I already have whole bags of this is a big bag full of 10 counters. This is a big bag full of 20 counters. You know, so I can have those already ready. I don't have to go back and recount all those supplies. So I can put those in my little drawers and access them when I need them. Right now they're just in a big tub, all in Ziploc bags. So.
Before we throw you at questions or questions to us, I wanted to show you how to get to all of the digital files online. Our instructional coach sent us all the digital files through Google Docs. So if your instructional coach has not sent you that, you might ask them because they have access to send it out to you, but there is a way to find it on the district website also.
And also feel free to email us and I'll forward you their email with that link.
Gave it to us at the training in the spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if
and your instructional coaches are excellent resources. Feel free to email us and ask us anytime questions. And Megan Hansen and
Krista Carson
led this charge last year, and they, I'm not kidding you, know everything. So always reach out to them.
But anyway, if you go to the SMSD website and then go to staff and elementary, and then kindergarten and additional resources, and then down here, EngageNY lesson files.
Have a good day. Okay. I think I was here last week a little bit with
So this is what our instructional coach said to us. So if this is, and then if you click on module 1 at the top, then it breaks it down into lessons. And then you click on a lesson and it'll give you all the black lines that you would need.
Why is it not? Oh wait, what am I doing there?
I would say,
allow?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, homework.
And what we usually do, we did
double click on it.
We did send them to the print shop. I don't know how strict your schools are. We did send them to the print shop.
So
they never came back. So we did all of our stuff ourselves.
They never.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So then you would click on double click on lesson 1.
Print shop this summer, and our principals can calls.
Looks like yours is being really slow.
Yeah. So do with that what you will.
Did you open up lesson 1 on there?
Yeah.
And there were files?
Yeah.
She's not showing any files.
She might have to get access.
Oh.
She might have to request access. I could be wrong though. Are you in your school Gmail?
I just didn't I click on? Yeah, I clicked on the school.
And your name was on there too.
Yeah.
Huh.
Try lesson 2. See if that one comes up.
I've gotten it's.
Okay, so lesson 2 came up. So here's the exit ticket, the homework. It gives you all the lesson pages that you have in your book, and then this is the problem set. And so you would click on one and then send it to print, and then go back and click on the next one.
So would you just like the week before turn off like everything for that week, or would you do like the whole module?
Oh no, that'll drive you insane.
Okay.
I think some people can do it that way. Like I have to go week to week. I'm not that organized.
I would start, for me personally, about Tuesday or Wednesday, I would start prepping for all of my lessons the following week. And it takes about that long. So don't plan to be
That's
Friday
one of our
night.
notes. Don't wait till 3 o'clock on Friday. You will, especially at first, it will take you a long time to get this stuff ready.
Some lessons you have to count out all these baggies of 20 pieces, plus make matching card sets where you have to run stuff off and cut them out and put in baggies. Plus, the material prep is pretty intensive. Some of the material prep last year that we did we'll be able to use again because they were cards or something that we were able to save, and so we won't have to make those again. Sometimes the baggies you have to readjust, and so we may have to start with different, but yeah,
but
the main thing is
do
don't
not wait till the last
Yeah.
minute. And like what we both usually do is we just like, if I know I'm teaching a lesson 1 through 5 that week, then I will just shoot everything up at one time, and then I go up and get it all. And as it's coming out, I clip the different things together, you know.
Sometimes though, it's helpful if you look through it a little bit before you print it, because sometimes you can do like exit ticket and problem
Right.
set front to back, whereas other times you can't. Or sometimes the Fluency template, there might be 2 of them and you can do them front to back. I mean, sometimes things switch a little bit, so.
Or sometimes something's for partners. So
Yes, and then you don't need
to
a whole
make
set.
24 copies of them, you just need 12. So,
But always under those headings in the manual where it says supply or materials needed, that's where it will tell you exactly what you need. So I go through all of those first and kind of make a list of what's needed.
And then go in and just shoot them. Okay.
right. Yeah, I just, like I said, I just shoot everything up for the whole week that I'm teaching.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I clip, you know, all of the Fluency templates I clip together as they're coming out of the machine. But the advanced planning
So you have
is-
it now. Okay, good. I
is
think it's just being
crucial.
really slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crucial.
All summer I was like, I need to just start.
And then one of the other notes we put on here, we were very hesitant at first about leaving this for substitutes. We felt like, wow, this is really overwhelming. There's a lot of words. I had one sub that loved, she was like, this is so amazing. This is so scripted. I knew exactly what to do. I loved this. Thank you, thank you. I had another sub who didn't do it at all. So I might suggest leaving this for your sub, but then also having optional materials if this is overwhelming to them, you know, then they could do this generic math lesson
And then
instead.
being prepared to reteach the lesson. I mean, because if it's a super, yeah, if it's a super important lesson where you're teaching a new concept or a new strategy, you want to make sure they get it. So I don't know, you have to.
see, yeah, sub coming in the middle of this
Yes.
if they've never taught
You
it.
have to weigh that as
Even
to,
that.
do you think they can teach it where they're going to understand it, or would it be better to just do an alternate math activity for that day, or something
Along
else?
with the
Yes,
concept that
or
you're
something
teaching,
together. I
just a
mean,
different way. Yeah.
yeah, you want them to learn when the sub is there, but
Right. The other thing I forgot to say too on the student debrief, that at the very end, before you do the exit ticket and things, there's the student debrief, and sometimes there's a ton of questions. It is a bank of questions, so pick which ones you think are you know, most essential. You don't have to do them all. I would really encourage you doing them though,
Yeah.
because it has a lot of higher order thinking components, and just a good way to summarize and verbalize what we learned that day. So, like I said, I would teach every part. Definitely teach it with fidelity at this time. But that's a bank of questions. And then a couple things we were talking about exploring this year. Last year we had specials at the very end of the day. So we taught this, and then they went to specials. And this year our special schedule is a little bit different, and we're talking about trying to figure out a way that maybe we do part of it like in the morning and part of it in the afternoon instead of one whole block.
it is a long, intense.
You are wrung out
Yes.
by the time you're done. I mean.
So we were talking about maybe trying to do all the fluency parts, and maybe even, if there's time, the application problem in one section, and then when we come back, hit the meat of the lesson and the worksheet. But it doesn't have to all be in one sitting. You can break it up a little bit if you want.
You don't do a math workshop, you just do that twice a week.
Correct. Because we were not able to find time in the schedule, because this takes a full hour or more to get through each lesson.
Right, because Envision was like 15
Yeah.
minutes. And
Yes.
you did math.
And that's why some of our kids had a really hard time adjusting to
Right.
this mid-year, because they were used to having those rotations, and yeah.
And these guys won't know any differently. So,
Right.
but that was something we were going to explore, is just breaking it up so that their focus, you know, we're not losing them as much. And also, I know second grade did it, and I don't know time-wise how it would work, but do you do daily 5?
Yeah.
Okay, daily 5. Do you do daily 5? Or are you familiar with it?
Math workshop.
Okay,
And
daily
it was
5.
called Word.
We did it for the first time last year during our Wonders, and basically, I'll just do a quick, easy. You teach the whole group a little piece of the lesson, and then you say, okay, go to your daily 5 rotation. You do that for a little bit of time. They come back, you teach another chunk. Okay, go to a different rotation. And there's 5, you phase into having 5 options of things to do. So that might be something else that we explore this year too, depending on our schedule, is chunking this into daily 5 type activities too. So
I did
that's
daily
another.
3, the math.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So.
I do think it's good though to get a feel for how the program is set up.
Oh,
to
I
just
definitely
go
I mean,
through it
yeah.
and do it as it is written,
No
and then
question.
figure out how you can.
Well, and that's why I
adjust.
said this year.
Yeah.
Like last year, we would have never ever tried any altering these things, but we have a better understanding of how it all fits together now, so we can. But
And it does get easier the more you do it. It'll be pretty overwhelming at first, at least it was to us, but it does get better.
well, and if you were here when they launched Wonders, or the first time you tried to plan Wonders, I mean, I was like, what? I mean, it was taking me like 2 hours to get things ready, and now you're just like, whatever, it's time for Wonders. So it's that same kind of thing. This is gonna feel that way now, and in 2 months from now, you'll just be like, oh, time to plan for math, and you'll just do
Right.
it.
It will be.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys have other questions? We've thrown a lot at you. I hope this has been helpful
It has.
and not
Really helpful.
scary.
Better.
Good. You can do it, and the kids do like it because there's a lot of hands-on pieces, and they do learn from it.
Yeah, I was really pleased with it. And I think it takes them to a higher level, I felt
Yeah.
like, than Envision did. And I like the conversation component, because, you know, they like to talk to each other. And you know, we all know teaching someone else how to do something, you know, helps you learn it too. So they're having to, you know, articulate their knowledge when they're talking to their partners too. So.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys. Sorry it
very
was
good.
small
No, it was good.
little
I
group.
love this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.